Hello everyone. I wonder what you're thinking after watching this video. Let's get started. Few people watching this video probably know that from 1940 to 1996, the United States spent at least $5.5 trillion on nuclear weapon programs. The $5,500 billion were calculated in 1996. If we converted to current value, the actual amount would be much more terrifying. Additionally, some programs lack data, and it's difficult to distinguish some programs with nuclear elements, which are not included in the calculation. Therefore, the actual figure could be much higher. That number doesn't even include the estimated cost of $320 billion for storing nuclear weapons and disposing of radioactive waste over the course of more than 5 decades, from 1940 to 1996. Not to mention, dismantling the weapons system alone cost up to $20 billion. So, all things considered, the United States spent at least $5.8 trillion on nuclear weapons. Of that $5.8 trillion, only 7%, or $409 billion, went toward developing, testing, and producing actual bombs and warheads. But to make these weapons usable, they had to be deployed on planes, missiles, submarines, and various delivery systems. And it's these systems that represent the most expensive part of the equation, consuming a whopping 56%, or $3.2 trillion, of the total cost. Furthermore, another 14%, or $831 billion, was spent on command, control, communication, and intelligence systems dedicated to nuclear weapons. The remaining 16%, or $937 billion, was used to build defensive systems against nuclear attacks, primarily air defense, missile defense, anti-submarine warfare, and civil defense. So, how much is $5.8 trillion? It's a staggering amount of money that you can imagine. Each American had to contribute $21,000, based on the U.S. population at the time of the report in 1996. With $5.8 trillion, the stack of money would reach a height of 739,000 kilometers, roughly the equivalent of a lap from the Earth to the Moon and back. If you try to count $5.8 trillion at a rate of $1 per second, it would take you 12 days to reach $1 million, 32 years to reach $1 billion, 31,000 years to reach $1 trillion, and about 184,000 years to reach $5.8 trillion. So, what did the US gain from spending such a massive amount of money? From 1945 to 1990, the US produced over 70,000 nuclear bombs and warheads with 65 different configurations, ranging from bombs and artillery shells to massive warheads designed for intercontinental ballistic missiles. 36% of these warheads were intended for tactical or battlefield purposes, while 12,000 warheads were intended for defensive purposes such as air defense, missile defense, and anti-submarine warfare. To provide material for these weapons, the U.S. produced 745.3 tons of highly enriched uranium and 103.5 tons of plutonium. The U.S. nuclear weapons stockpile reached its peak in 1960, with explosive power equivalent to 1,366,000 of the large bombs dropped on Hiroshima. The Little Boy bomb. This bomb's had yield of 15,000 tons of TNT and devastated an entire city. So, with 1,366,000 bombs of this magnitude, you can imagine the devastating scale of destruction it could cause. Although the US and other countries have been gradually reducing their nuclear weapons stockpiles in accordance with non-proliferation agreements, the US still has a total yield of 91,500 bombs equivalent to the size of the Hiroshima bomb. From 1945 to September 1992, the US conducted 1,030 nuclear weapons tests, including 215 in the atmosphere and 815 underground. During the Cold War, the US produced nuclear weapons for 116 different delivery systems. These systems include 11 types of strategic ballistic missiles with 6,125 missiles, 11 types of nuclear bombers with 4,700 aircraft, and 3 types of nuclear missile submarines with 59 submarines. In addition, there are tens of thousands of additional short-range missile systems, many of which are dual-capable, meaning they can carry both conventional and nuclear weapons. With such large numbers, many Americans have opposed spending too much money on nuclear weapons, arguing that it is excessive and wasteful. Specifically, some argue that, in terms of deterrence, only a few warheads are necessary. For example, North Korea, which does not have as much as the US, but have possessing nuclear weapons, has made the US somewhat wary of them. In terms of funding, of course, producing more will cost more money. So, if production is not necessary, why produce so much when that money could be used for more beneficial programs such as social welfare and education? Another important issue is environmental pollution. A report shows that from the beginning, nuclear weapons producers have only temporarily dealt with nuclear waste. Specifically, during World War II, scientists working at the Hanford Reservation, the site where Pluto was produced, built massive underground tanks made of carbon steel to contain radioactive wastewater. As a result, millions of gallons of waste leaked into the ground. However, Hanford officials have claimed for many years that it would take centuries for this waste to reach the groundwater beneath the area. Environmental pollution from radioactive waste generated by nuclear weapons production facilities has cost the U.S. a tremendous amount of money, up to $300 billion, to address. Finally, there is the issue of health. Uranium miners, many of whom were Navajo, have developed lung cancer after working in poorly ventilated mines without protective masks or any type of healthcare gear. The U.S. Congress had to pass a law on compensating radiation exposure, which provides compensation for those who have been harmed by nuclear weapons production and testing activities. By early 1998, the U.S. government had paid $225 million to about 2,700 people. What do you think about this? Let's discuss. Thank you for watching the video. Please leave your comments and subscribe now to never miss a video, and let's learn together. See you again.